His granny was Polish-Jewish. His grandpa was very Welsh. His temperament was not Anglo-Saxon, not at all, not at all. Everyone, all at home, there was a lot of crime, there was a lot of hugging. It was very un-Anglo-Saxon. I think he was proudest of things that now are actually unfashionable. I think he was very proud of looking after people that he worked with. I think that it wasn't to do with the acting so much as he was terribly modest, and it was to a fault. He was not interested in himself, which is why he was an interesting actor. He didn't seem to... the things that I have heard from other people, the things that he was extraordinary at, were being almost an outsider, which actually was sort of what he was.
First of all, learning the rudiments of your job. First of all, trying, as it were, to fashion some weapons with which to fight, by which I mean technique, in order to be able to move, to make yourself heard. These are the elementary problems that any actor faces. His final problem is some kind of revelation of himself, what he's learned as a human being in life, what he's become. But at the beginning, it's a desperate battle just to walk across the stage and not fall over, to make yourself heard at the back of a big theatre without squeaking or squawking or losing your voice. Then there's the problems of different authors and the techniques of dealing with those. And finally, there's the awful problem of getting a job. Bloody difficult, and pretty crummy at that. I did all sorts of weird and crummy jobs. I got the first job I got was on the music halls as the feed to a big fat Jewish comic, and I did that for the best part of a year. Then I got myself, what happened then? Oh, I don't know, I somehow or other, yes, I got into a play of Cochrane's, extraordinarily enough, and then I sat back again and went to play small parts of the Old Vic. Well, in one way it was on, but financially it was back. But it was a scrabble. You were scratching around all the time, just like anybody now. It's not all that different. After about 5 or 6 years on the stage, directors would have seen you work, managers would have seen you, and so when they were casting a play, they would think of you. When you start off, nobody wants you. You're just a damn nuisance, just another kid who's wanting to go on the stage, and probably not very good either. I'm sure I was dreadful. I think I was. I had certain assets, large, and could make myself heard, but I don't think I was any good. You learn, though. There was something inside me that with encouragement brought out.
Dad was always extremely hardworking and also wayward. And he decided what he wanted to do he must have been in his 70s, wasn't he? Late 60s, 70s, when he started his own theatre company. And that it would go on tour, and then it would come into the West End. And this was something that he truly wanted to do and believed in. And the first play they did was The Clandestine Marriage, and Roy Kinnear was in it. And some other fantastic actors as well. I remember seeing it. It was an absolute joy of a play. It was kind of, well, wacky. And they all in it had a ball. You just knew all the actors enjoyed each other's company very much. And it was a sort of lovely grotesque piece. And it was a success. After he died, I was on tour with ESC, and every theatre that I went to where they had gone, people stage doorman, the dressers, the people that for him really mattered. They all said, lovely, lovely man, your dad. And then they stopped and I went, yeah, he was a lovely man, and it was just so touching. And then they went, and his dog. And I said, yes, Tiger. He had a dog, which he was very strict with us actually growing up, but this dog was so spoilt, and it was the worst trained dog you've ever met. And all of them would say, you're a lovely dad. And I said, yes, and then Tiger. And I said, I know. I know. He was very spoiled.
It's a hell of a profession, I think. I think it's a very difficult one. I think it's one that attracts a whole lot of people who shouldn't be in it at all. And therefore, the more difficult you make it, the better it is. Because you've got to go through a hell of a tough apprenticeship before ever you break through into open country. And a lot of people are discouraged by the difficulties. And that's good. It should be very difficult. Unless you have both the qualities and the determination to get on in the job, you'd much better drop out quickly. Unless you are hell-bent upon the theatre or acting, unless there is nothing else on earth that will satisfy you, don't do it. Don't do it if you weigh it up against another profession. There can be no question, just none, that it is the only course open to you, and that failure in it will not matter to you, that you don't mind if you fail, that you're content with it as having lived in an art which you love, and which is a reward in itself, because 90% of the people going on the stage will not succeed. Therefore, it had better be a way of life, which in itself, just to belong to it, just to strive, is enough. To be on the perimeter and not at the center or not at the top, because very few make it there. On the other hand, there is a very happy life to be made by dedicated people who have something to offer on not necessarily at the top of the mountain, but on the lower slopes, halfway up, if it is a way of life which you will accept, which means you're not going to make a lot of money, and you're going to be out of work an awful lot of time, and you're not going to have any glamour at all, but it's just got to be something you want above anything else in the world you want to do. Then go to it, and you have my full encouragement. People who are in it for money and fame are just a bore to me. I have no time for them. There are plenty who are in it for that and who do get both money and fame. They remain bores as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I'll tell you something funny. My mum, she kept on dying, really. She had about 6 times she had chronic asthma, and I was living nearest to the hospital, so they'd ring me up and I would go. And I remember one time driving, it was the early hours of the morning, and I thought, they said, come quick, she's on the way out. And so I just remember saying, Dad, oh, Dad. And he hadn't died that long before, it was about 6 years, I think. But I remember thinking, this has got to be the one. And I remember thinking, oh, Dad, like this. And then I looked up, I stopped at the lights, there was no one else on the road. I looked up, I was by a pub, and what it said there's written up was Courage, because it was Courage Ales. And I went, yeah, thanks, Dad. But that's what he had, and that's what he left.